local supermarket, which is about 2 kilos. So 1 kilo I made for duck mappas and 1 kilo I made it as duck curry. It's a full duck, and I got it as an offer for about €7 for this 2 kilos. It was by the third week of November I made this duck curry. This is specially made in Kerala. I think it's a Portuguese or English recipe. Probably when the English people were in the when India was a colony, they made this some kind of modification and made this recipe. So for this, as I've mentioned, I've taken 2 kilos of duck. So I don't like to remove the fat because it tastes well. So I'm going to add, I'm adding 3.5 teaspoons of salt to this, and then I'm adding about so I'm adding some turmeric to this. It's better to cook the duck in a pressure cooker because it takes really long time to cook this meat, as the cooking time of meat is not the usual cooking time like chicken or anything. So I'm adding the Aji Foods turmeric powder to the duck, and then I am adding the other spices. I will show you one by one. So I'm adding the coriander powder. So I would be taking 1, 2, 2 teaspoons of coriander powder. It's just to cook the meat. And I'm also adding 1 teaspoon to 2 teaspoon of pepper powder. So I'm cooking the duck meat separately with just salt, pepper and turmeric, and I would be adding some hot water to this and would be cooking the duck meat for, I'm also adding some crushed ginger, garlic and green chilies to this. Then I'm mixing it well, and then I would be adding water, very hot water, and then cooking the meat for about, I cooked for about 45 minutes if I remember well. And I'm going to make the other gravy separately. So duck meat would be cooked separately and the gravy would be cooked separately. Now I would be adding the hot water to this. So people who are vegetarians, you can substitute this with potatoes. That will also taste good. Or people who eat egg, you can make the gravy and do this kind of recipe. So this I'm adding the hot water as I mentioned, and I would be closing the lid for the pressure cooker and cooking for about 45 minutes until the meat is cooked. Meat is tender and cooked very well. So it takes really long time to cook the duck meat as I mentioned. So I'm going to cover the lid of the pressure cooker and cook it in high flame first, and then change the flame to medium flame. So the duck gravy, as I mentioned, I would be cooking it separately for both the duck curry and the duck mappas. Now in another pan, you need a large pan because the quantity of the duck meat is 2 kilos. So I have taken a big pan, and I would be adding coconut oil. The coconut oil is frozen because of the local temperature. Now the temperature is really cold today. For example, the temperature is about 1 or 2 degrees, and tomorrow it's going to minus in the night, even during the day, I don't know. The forecast is snowfall for tomorrow. So I am adding about 2 to 3 tablespoons of coconut oil. So coconut oil tastes good for this kind of Kerala recipes. And I'm adding cinnamon cloves, few cardamom. I would also be adding garam masala, so I'm not adding so many whole spices. So I've taken 4 cardamom and a few cloves and a small piece of cinnamon stick. So when it splutters, I would be adding the minced onions, minced ginger, garlic, and green chilies, and then would be adding salt and other spices, and would be adding the cooked meat. I shall show you step by step. So now I'm adding the minced onions. I've taken about 3 whole onions, medium sized whole onions, and I would also be I have taken about 3 whole bulbs of garlic and 2 big piece of ginger, and 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 big green chilies. So I'm adding the minced onions, and then would be adding salt and the minced ginger, garlic, and green chili paste. I mean minced ginger, garlic, green chili. So always, yeah, now I'm adding the minced ginger, garlic, and green chilies. I've taken 3 whole bulbs of garlic and 2 big pieces of ginger, and 3 or 4 green chilies. A little bit I added when it is cooked in the pressure cooker. Now I'm adding the rest to this onion minced. Now I would be adding little bit of salt for just this gravy. As you saw, for the duck meat I have added the salt separately, so we have to adjust. We have to keep in mind that we don't need that much salt, considering the salt has been already added to the duck meat. So you see the duck meat is also getting cooked on one side, and in the pressure cooker I haven't closed the pressure cooker yet. Now I would be closing the pressure cooker, and then swapping the pots. I would be, yeah, now I'm adding some turmeric. I'm always adding the spices from Aji Foods. So now I'm adding about 3 to 4 heaped teaspoon of chili powder, and also I would be adding some Kashmiri chili powder to this. I would be adding pepper, so we have to adjust the spice powders according to the taste for your family. We did it little bit spicy because duck mappas later on we will be adding coconut milk, so you can even add. So now I am adding coriander powder, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 teaspoons of coriander powder. We already added coriander powder to the duck meat, so considering that in mind. So you have to add the coriander powder. When you add the spices, always keep the flame very low so that the spices are roasted at a good temperature. Now I'm adding some Kashmiri chili powder, also from Aji Foods, to add color. This is not very spicy, so you can add Kashmiri chili powder even a little bit more. It will not be spicy. So I'm roasting all the powders along with onion, ginger, garlic, and the spices. In fact, the duck meat has been already cooked in the pressure cooker. So I've just opened the lid from the pressure cooker and cooking it little bit more. So the meat has been already cooked well. So I'm covering the lid, and now I would be, yeah, this is how the duck meat looks like after it has been pressure cooked. So now I would be adding the duck meat to this spices, onion, ginger, garlic, green chilies, and all the spices which I have mentioned to this. So the duck meat, now I'm adding the duck meat along with the water, along with the gravy. And this is how it looks like now. The meat is so tender and it's cooked very well. So at this point I can add curry leaves, pepper, garam masala one by one. Here's a typical Christmas recipe you can try for the previous day for Christmas, or on the day of Christmas, or even for the new year. It's a very special recipe. I think it's a recipe from Kuttanad, Kerala, because in this Kuttanad they have lot of lakes, and they have so many ducks, and probably this recipe would have come because of that. So this is how the meat looks like now, and this is how the curry looks like now. And as I mentioned, at this point you can add pepper. The consistency of the gravy is like this, but you can add pepper, you can add garam masala, you can add curry leaves, and even some more coconut oil. At this point in this recipe we don't add coriander leaves because it will give another flavor. So curry leaves is good. Now I'm adding garam masala. So this is also Aji Foods garam masala. It's about 1.5 teaspoons I'm adding. That's enough. The flavor is so strong, so we don't need more. And also I would be adding pepper and curry leaves. So this is a duck curry basically, and to make it as duck mappas we need to add coconut milk. I will show you. And then we have to add some seasoning that will give a totally different taste when you add seasoning. So now at this time I'm adding pepper. I think I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of pepper. 2 teaspoons of pepper. So considering we added pepper even before cooking the meat, while cooking the meat in the pressure cooker. So you can adjust the gravy. When these powders are added, the gravy is becoming more thick. The next day it will become more thick. So I'm transferring little for the duck curry, and then I would be showing how to make a mappas. Mappas is nothing but you just add coconut milk. So I'm just taking some meat for the duck curry, and my son really likes duck mappas. He eats with rice, he eats with bread, he eats literally with everything. At this stage I'm adding the coconut milk. I've taken 1 canned coconut milk. So I'm adding a 1 whole can of thick coconut milk, and so now this is how the duck pass is made. Even at this stage I'm adding little warm water to that, and so this is how it looks. Even at this stage you can add some pepper and curry leaves to this, but I would be adding as a seasoning. So this is how the duck mappas gravy looks like. I'm adding some salt, and then I would be adding some seasoning. I would show for seasoning I've used whole red chilies and some small onions. Small onions add a taste to the to the gravy. So I would be adding some coconut oil at this stage, and for seasoning I'm adding the coconut oil, and then red chilies, whole red chilies and curry leaves, and small onions. So that would be the seasoning for duck curry and duck mappas. So I'm adding some mustard seeds also, and then some red chilies and onions and curry leaves. If you have small onions, it's really good. I've used red onions. If you as many small onions, yeah, I've had some shallots also. As many small onions you add, it gives taste to the curry. So now I would be separating it into two halves, and one for duck curry and the other is for duck mappas. Then it is ready to be served.